Hey Moose. So, the more I do these real talk videos, the more like I feel like you guys are just sitting here at home with me, and I'm like pretty surprisingly comfortable with talking about things that may be kind of, I don't know, intimate. And so the title of this video, as you know, is How Therapy Changed My Life. And those of you that are maybe in therapy or considering therapy, I just want to talk about my experience in therapy. Although I'm no longer in therapy. I haven't been in therapy in a few years. It was life-changing for me. So here's, I guess, my history with therapy. I think I first started seeing a therapist in college, and it was really like not productive for me. I thought she was amazing. I thought she was super warm and super kind and just so sweet, and she definitely helped me to process things that were happening in the immediate. But it definitely didn't I didn't grow from it. I didn't learn from it. It was just a place for me to go and just express and talk, but it wasn't something that was like changing in, the way I behaved. And certainly I think that there definitely needs to be really like a thinking or cognitive behavioral therapy is probably what I needed. I think I'm making that up because I'm not a psych major at all. I never was, but I think that's kind of what makes sense to me is what I needed later on in life. Anyway, so she was really helpful for me in college, but not in the way that it was for me outside of college and when I really sat down and worked with somebody. So kind of that's really my history, where it began anyway. And then I found myself in therapy several years outside of college. And it was weird. I had been toying with the idea of going for some time, feeling like there were some things I needed to process. But I just was always kind of like, no, not, I don't know. Maybe I had my own stigma and my own judgment against it and feeling that maybe it would mean that I had somehow failed in a way to feel like I needed something like this. But ladies and gentlemen, can I just tell you that the time I spent in therapy, and I was in therapy, I want to say like 2 years, was life changing for me. Here's the thing that I learned, and I hope I make sense with all of this, but I found myself in therapy primarily because I was fucking up my relationships, and not my relationship with my husband, which is great, and that was fine. I was really, really messing up friendships. I was really not getting friendship. And I had always prided myself on being smart and thoughtful and really, really sensitive, but not in the way that you would think. Like I couldn't internalize, or rather I couldn't conceive of the other side of things. Do you know what I mean? Because the minute I felt like it reflected poorly on me, or that it was something that I had done, I immediately became defensive. And so I could not ever consider another person's perspective in a situation. It was hard for me. And I would often call other friends and say, I'm in this turmoil, or I'm in this conflict with this person. What do you think? And of course, when you call other people who are your friends, who they themselves, aren't professionals, or they're biased. And maybe they're biased in favor of you because you're your friend, you're their friend, or maybe they're biased because they have their own personal experiences that are similar to maybe what you went to. So whatever advice they're offering to you is tainted with their own shit. You know what I'm saying? So that never got me anywhere. I never gained any knowledge from speaking to a friend that would help me to better kind of respond to conflict that I would have with other people. And so here was, I'd say primarily my problem with friends, I'll be really specific, is that I didn't grow up in a social environment in that way. My parents, as you guys know, are Haitian, and so it's different. You're not going to play groups. You're not social. They don't understand socialization the way it works here in the Western world. To go to birthday parties and all these things, it was always like a thing. Like they just didn't get that stuff. And I would go, whatever. But I think because of that, because of not having particular social skills, and I'm being completely candid, I think it affected my relationships with people growing up. So I remember even being in 7th grade, 8th grade, getting into screaming matches with friends, fighting with friends. I just did not get it. Like 7th, 8th, I just didn't get it. And I continued this behavior throughout high school. I continued the behavior modified, but in college. I continued it outside of college. And it was finally a moment where I went through like a big friend breakup, I would say. and I was actually pretty good with this breakup for a couple of years, or maybe a year. I felt fine with it. And then all of a sudden it started to feel for me uneasy that I had broken up with my childhood friends, the friends I had been, people I had been friends with for 15 or whatever number of years. I started to feel like maybe that wasn't good. I started to feel like that wasn't, like, it didn't feel right to me. And I had to understand what got me here. I couldn't accept the idea that we just grew apart because, a lot of them were still friends with each other. So I could not understand how I had gotten there and what the problem was. And I had to be ready to really delve deep and look into myself. And that's what happened. It was a fluke that I found this therapist. She was amazing. It was a fluke. I pulled her name out of a hat pretty much. And I'm not gonna say she saved my life because I wasn't like suicidal, but she definitely changed the course of my life. Just awareness. I hope this makes sense. You just gain so much insight into your own stuff, but you have to be ready. You have to be ready because there were moments I would leave her office, I'd be raw, I'd be crying, I'd feel hurt, I'd feel like, oh, it just brought up all this stuff. But then at the other side of this is this awakening and this self-awareness. And I walked away from that knowing myself well enough to understand my relationships with other people and to understand the kinds of people that I need to gravitate towards, the kinds of people that I need to pull back from, and the kinds of people that I need to recognize that their behavior is not a reflection of me, and that who they are and how they behave, it's not personal. It's not about me. It's who they are, and they have the right to be who they are. And I can choose. I can choose the kinds of people that reflect what my needs are. And it's like all of a sudden I stopped needing friends in the way that I needed them before. Before, I almost needed them as like my family. Like I almost took them, like I have a mom and dad, I have brothers and sisters, but I almost had the kind of pressure on my friendships that you think I would have with my family. The expectations I would have were super heavy, and I can appreciate how other friendships, I can understand now how those friendships kind of didn't work out because it was heavy for me. It was every detail of those friendships were so incredibly intense and heavy for me. And in therapy, I recognized where that need came from and how I had people who could fulfill those needs, and I was looking in the wrong places. And I think women do that constantly with boyfriends and even maybe girlfriends, where we have these ridiculous expectations. And sometimes maybe they're not ridiculous. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're maybe not ridiculous, but they're ridiculous when you expect them from people who can't give it to you. And it's not personal. They can't give it to anybody. That's not who they are. And they're not bad and you're not bad. You just don't, look for the people who can give you what you need. And it's funny because I don't need what I thought I needed then. Do you know what I mean? Like my relationships, all of my other relationships began to grow and flourish. Within 2 years of starting therapy, my husband proposed, we got married, we started a family. My relationships with my parents changed and got so much better. I discovered I had these amazing, amazing friends in my life that I kind of maybe kept slightly at a distance because I reserved my close heart space for these other friends that it was never going to work out. And it's like, it's discovery. And now when I conduct myself in life, it's like, I feel free. I feel like I don't really have to call people and like get their opinions about things that much anymore unless it's like makeup, because I kind of know stuff. You know what I mean? Like I know myself. I know how I feel. I trust how I feel. And I trust when shit doesn't feel right, it's not right. You know what I mean? It's simple as that. If it doesn't feel good, it's not good. And I don't need to call people and ask opinions like, what do you think? Because by simply asking, you know. You know what I mean? Like I'm on these friend boards on like Facebook and stuff like that. I have groups rather. I actually have a Facebook group. It's called Girl Talk with Lisa. Look it up. I'll put a link below. You can join if you want to hang out and talk with me all day. And people post questions, not in those groups, but in these other groups I'm a part of. And, they'll ask these questions, and I've been guilty too, where it's like, why do people keep saying such and such? It makes me mad when people say this, that, and third. And I really fundamentally believe that you only care what people say if you feel like there's some truth into what they have to say. Listen, I'm sensitive too. Okay, I'm really sensitive too. I really, like things hurt my feelings, and I get it. But I don't. If they're not in my immediate world like that, like I don't like go to sleep with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't. It doesn't bother me enough to like post it in a general board. You know what I mean? Unless it's like a personal thing, you know. So I've come to the place where I really don't have a whole lot of time or energy thinking about what other people think and having it affect my life and my decisions. I'm really good. And I mean, I think I'm good today. I know there's still, I talk like I'm like 60 years old. I know. I know there's so much more for me to learn and grow. And I may be back in therapy one day when I really feel like I'm at a crossroads and I can't quite get past it. There's no judgment. I'll be open with you guys if I find myself there again. But yeah. And if you ever want me to do a real talk about how to break up with friends and do it in a way that, not the way that I did, but in like a real good way, yeah, I could do a real talk about that too. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Therapy is amazing. It really can really change. You got to be ready for it though, because it's gut wrenching, but it really can change the course of your life and make so many improvements for you and I think anybody. But anyway, thanks so much for watching this real talk. Hopefully I made sense. Bye.